When you look these days at Tucker and Candace, for example, to me, they're unrecognizable from the old Tucker and the old Candace. They are all about Israel. And what I wanted to start by asking you is, what is it about Israel that seems to provoke this kind of fanaticism, this kind of obsession? You have a tiny country the size of New Jersey, and yet you seem to have guys right here in America who spend all day thinking about it. Why is that?
Yeah, first, Dinesh, thank you so much for having me on. I just saw The Dragon's Prophecy last night with my fiance. I was absolutely moved by it, and been watching you since I first became conservative in my younger days. I started off with 2016 Obama's America. It was one of the first films I watched that started to turn me conservative. To answer your question, I think there's biblical aspects with Israel, and then there's also just the historical and the geographical location. All of it matches with Israel. Geographically, that spot has always been a hub for trade, connecting, multiple continents together. And so naturally you want to think in anthropology and human culture, that's going to be a tense spot regardless who is there. Now you add in on top of that with Israel and biblical prophecy here. As for my my thought on why, sometimes I wake up and I see a new thing. Just this morning, I saw Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, and he talked about how much I haven't watched the whole interview yet, but I watched the part where he said how much he hates Christian Zionists and how they've infiltrated the church. And it's just the worst thing ever. And I sometimes ask myself the same question: what is it that makes people focus so much on Israel? I think that people have such a hatred for Jewish people. I really do. I know they like to say, oh, everything you say is anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism, and specifically with Israel, is not just sometimes a double standard that is applied to Israel. Sometimes it's a singular standard that's applied to Israel. Sometimes there's a standard that they've never even heard of before that they will only apply to Israel. I think that stems from the hatred for Jewish people, and in some aspects, it manifested in hating, communist and capitalist societies, capitalist and communist societies. And in this aspect today, it's not the Jews; it's just their state.
We have a line in The Dragon's Prophecy where I say, and I'm actually reflecting something Jonathan Cahn said first, that the devil is the first anti-Semite. And I take Cahn to be saying that no natural or rational explanation of anti-Semitism is adequate. Even after you have taken that explanation into account, there's a part of it that is not explained. And if you don't go to the spiritual dimension, you don't capture the full sort of demonic element of it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I do absolutely agree with that, Dinesh. I think there's, when you see anti-Semitism today, you notice it's a copy paste of anti-Semitism we've seen in the past. Yes, they switch words a little bit, but it's a copy paste. And there's the saying where the devil cannot create; he only copies and mimics. And so there's this aspect where anti-Semitism is what I call a sleeping giant. When people say to me, Nick, why do you think anti-Semitism has gone up so much recently? I don't know if it has particularly gone up so much recently. I just believe it to be a sleeping giant, and it doesn't take a lot to wake it up. And then the more you see anti-Semitism, like you said, obviously very much on the left for at least the past 10 years, arguably more, but you started to see it on the right. I just believe anti-Semitism is a nasty thing that just gets woken up. And in today's day and age, in the contemporary times, Israel is, the excuse that they use to wake that anti-Semitism back up.
When I first came to America around 1980, I had $500 in my pocket. That's it. Now, if I'd been really frugal and not spent a penny of that money, what do you think it would be worth now? What could it actually buy now compared to what it could buy in 1980? Well, the answer, less than $130. Now, why is that? Because the US government, through the Fed, is constantly printing money and devaluing your money. When the government prints money, there's more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. So guess what? Money goes down in value. Money buys less. The Fed has been at it since 1913. That's why a dollar today can buy just what a few cents could buy in 1913. And the government continues to print oceans of money. It really never stops. Now, an ounce of gold reached a high of $850 in 1980. It's worth now around $3,900 an ounce. So historically, over time, we see gold has gone up and up in value. Dollars have gone down and down. And what about in the last 12 months? Gold is up over 40%. I believe now is the time to find out how you can diversify your savings with gold and silver. And this is why I've partnered with Goldco. They offer the best customer service for precious metals ownership. They are also the only gold dealer that offers a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to 10% in bonus silver on qualified purchases. There's no better offer out there, so take advantage. To learn more about how to safeguard your savings from the dollar's decline, go to dineshgold.com. Very simple, easy to remember, dineshgold.com.